DC has gone their new Absolute Universe where Darkseid has altered the universe into his perfect image, which ended up giving us Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so much more. And I have already given my pitches for what an absolute versions of superheroes could look like for the Marvel Universe, like Absolute Spider-Man and Absolute Hulk. But I want to take it a step further and give an absolute version to the Mad Titan himself, Thanos, and what he could possibly look like if we gave him an absolute version. So in case you are unaware, Darkseid and Thanos are both the big bads of their own universe. Darkseid is DC's big bad villain, and Thanos is the big bad villain for Marvel. So it would only make sense that if Marvel had an absolute universe, Thanos would be the one who caused it. Now, if you're unaware of what absolute superheroes and villains are, or you haven't seen my last absolute videos, a short summary of absolute superheroes are a new comic line DC has started where they take away a core aspect away from a character and see how that changes them. The most iconic one, of course, is Absolute Batman, where they took away him growing up rich and instead became 10 times stronger to make up for not having all his cool tech, but is still Batman at heart and gets a cool new costume that an average man can get, like knives for ears and an axe as a bat symbol. They were doing this with a lot of other characters like Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Flash, Superman, and so much more. And the reason why these superheroes got these dramatic changes was due to Darkseid going to a universe where he had the best chances of winning. So he decided to go to a universe where all the superheroes were not as perfected as they usually are, so that he could have an easier time to win instead of having to fight the best versions of Batman, Superman, and the rest of the Justice League that we all know. So I wanted to take this idea and apply it to Thanos, Marvel's most iconic villain, and see what Thanos' perfect universe would look like so that he could achieve his goals like Darkseid does for the absolute universe. But before I get into that, I just wanted to ask you guys to subscribe, because 99% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so don't be that 99%. Hit that subscribe button, it's free. But let's get back into the video. So unlike Absolute Batman, where he loses something important like his wealth that makes him a better hero, Darkseid gains everything for him to succeed. So that means Absolute Thanos would be the strongest possible version that he could be. So here's how I would approach giving an absolute version to Thanos. So to give a baseline to what Absolute Thanos should be, we need to look at how Absolute Darkseid even made the Absolute Universe. So Absolute Darkseid goes to a universe where he could take over a universe with much easier ease by going to a universe with weaker heroes. But unlike Darkseid, Thanos has a greater goal than just taking over the universe. Thanos wants to get the Infinity Stones so he can cause a mass genocide across the universe. Now, the reason he wants to wipe out half of the population is different depending on what story you're looking at. For the MCU version of Thanos, it's for a more noble reason, by wiping out half of the population so that the other half can thrive. While in the comics, it's just to impress death itself. So for this absolute version, I want to take the goal from the MCU Thanos because that is a more interesting story to tell and is the version most of you guys know. So this Thanos' ultimate goal is to go to a universe where the people who are holding the Infinity Stone are flawed heroes, so that Thanos can have a much easier time getting the stone so he can wipe out half of the population. So I want this Thanos to already be at the peak of his powers while the rest of the universe is not at his level. So coming up with the strongest Thanos, we have to look at the strongest versions of Thanos across all of history. So the strongest one that most people might be aware of is King Thanos, which is a Thanos who already got everything he wanted to achieve. But this story is a little too far out there to Thanos' story because this version of Thanos, he's already won. So I wanted to take a step back and see a Thanos where he doesn't really have his goal yet. So I wanted to go with a Thanos that was raised under Cosmic Ghost Rider, where he has the knowledge of the universe and is around the strongest beings in the universe. So this version of Absolute Thanos would be surrounded by the best warriors and have a really healthy upbringing, so he would be at the peak of his powers. Now that we have established how strong a potential Absolute Thanos could be, I wanted to break down what an absolute story for Thanos could look like. Now right now, we currently know Darkseid in the Absolute Universe is probably going to lose because at the end of the day, the heroes will always win, even when they're not at the peak of the powers. So I wanted to do the same with this Absolute Thanos story, that even though Thanos is at his peak of his powers, he will still struggle against these heroes holding the Infinity Stones. So here are the people in this story who are going to be holding the Infinity Stones that Absolute Thanos has to defeat to get all these stones to be able to snap away half of the universe. So the Power Stone will be held by Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is Thanos' adopted father. So Thanos already starts off with the Power Stone since birth. Now the Time Stone will be held by the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange. You guys might know her from the Doctor Strange movie, because in this absolute timeline, Doctor Strange never broke his hand, so there is no one to take up the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme right after the Ancient One. So she is still currently the Sorcerer Supreme. Next up is the Mind Stone, which is being held by Vision, who was created to be at a deadlock battle with Ultron, where they're at a constant battle that would never end. And if the battle were to ever come to an end, that means Ultron will break free and potentially take over the world and potentially take over the universe. And to give a reference of what I'm trying to go for with Ultron and Vision having this constant battle, it's kind of like the two cats from Adventure Time, where all they do is fight to the end of time.
They're so evenly matched that it's a stalemate.
Yes,
Stormo sacrificed himself to keep Goliad in check for all eternity.
But the Soul Stone is supplying Ultron and Vision to have the energy to fight this constant battle. Next up is the Reality Stone, which is being held by the Collector, who has become obsessed with the stone, kind of like Golem, where he is just in a never-ending fantasy with the Reality Stone. The Space Stone will be held in Asgard, where Odin never found a true successor to wield the powers of Thor and Mjolnir. And finally, the Soul Stone will be held by Black Panther, where instead of vibranium crash landing on Wakanda, it's instead the Soul Stone, which allowed the people to communicate with their past ancestors, and in turn, every Black Panther will be granted the Soul Stone, where instead of using the ancestral plane to communicate with their ancestors, they would use the Soul Stone as sort of an avatar-like state. So Absolute Thanos will go on his mission to gather all these stones once he's at his peak of his powers, and starts off with the easiest one by taking the Reality Stone from the Collector, who is just a frail man in a constant dream state, and takes it with ease without much of a fight. Next, he goes to take the Space Stone from Asgard, which even though they have an army of people, Thanos is at another level with already 2 Infinity Stones, and since there is no Thor there to even compete with him in terms of power, and since Odin is on his last legs, Thanos makes quick work of Asgard with his own army and already possessing 2 Infinity Stones. Next, he will head for the Time Stone, which will be his toughest battle yet. And since the Sorcerer Supreme is still really good and magic is still an unfamiliar thing when it comes to Thanos, Thanos will have to come to his adopted father, Cosmic Ghost Rider, for help to defeat the Ancient One. And after Thanos invades her temple, they make quick work of her lower sorcerers and has Ghost Rider use a penance there on the Ancient One, who is known to have a dark past, so she gets defeated easily by Cosmic Ghost Rider, and Thanos claims the Time Stone. And now is a time for Thanos' biggest test yet, the Mind Stone. This is a battle Thanos can't win with just pure power or having connections to Ghost Rider. Vision being at a standstill with Ultron is the biggest problem Thanos has to face yet, because if you interrupt them fighting, Thanos will not only have to deal with a Vision who has been battle hardened with his battle with Ultron, but also have to face the risk of Ultron, who could possibly take over the world in seconds with his advanced AI, and who is also battle hardened through his battles with Vision. So Thanos chooses to take a different approach, which Thanos decides that if he just powers up Vision with his Power Stone so that Vision can be stronger than Ultron and end the deadlock, because before this, there was never enough power in the world to power Vision to overpower Ultron. But with 4 out of the 6 Infinity Stones, Thanos has plenty enough power to give to Vision to defeat Ultron. So once he beats him, he was a machine without a mission. Unlike Ultron, who wanted more in life, Vision was just a machine with a goal. So once he achieved it, there was no reason to fight anymore. So Absolute Thanos takes his Mind Stone with no resistance and gives him a new mission to serve him. And like a samurai who needs a master, Vision says yes. So now Absolute Thanos has 5 out of the 6 Infinity Stones and is going to the last one, the Soul Stone, which is being held in Wakanda by Black Panther. T'Challa sits on his throne waiting for Thanos to arrive with not a single fear in his eyes. Thanos has conquered galaxies and conquered some of the strongest heroes in the galaxy, yet Black Panther has no fear. Thanos arrives in Wakanda where only one castle stands, and the reason why there is only one castle is because Wakanda didn't get vibranium, so they never ended up becoming this advanced civilization they usually are. So Absolute Thanos invades the castle with his army ready to take over, and instead of Black Panther bringing his army, he's the only one there, and challenges him to a one-on-one, a trial by combat for the Soul Stone. Absolute Thanos laughs at this challenge because at this point, Thanos has 5 out of the 6 Infinity Stones, while Black Panther only has 1. No way Black Panther even stands a chance, so he accepts this one-on-one, and Black Panther gets ready and activates his Soul Stone, granting him access to all of his ancestors' memories in like a sort of avatar state, and starts fighting Thanos. And even though Thanos has all this power, he is no match for Black Panther in terms of pure fighting skills. Absolute Thanos has trained with some of the best warriors, but has never faced someone who has the fighting experience of hundreds of people, which makes Thanos have to resort to using his Infinity Stones because Black Panther is the first to ever best him in combat. Thanos starts off with his Reality Stone to trick Black Panther into seeing multiple Thanoses, but Black Panther easily tells which one is the real Thanos, which makes Thanos frustrated. So Thanos decides to simply just overpower him with his stones. And even though Black Panther is far superior when it comes to combat, Thanos is just at a different level when it comes to power. So Thanos just wins off of sheer power alone and tries to claim the Mind Stone from Black Panther but can't, and questions why. And Black Panther explains to him that for a person to claim the Soul Stone, they must sacrifice their loved ones. For each one of the Black Panthers in history, each one had to murder their families to claim the throne of the Black Panther. And that's how it's been for their entire history. Each Black Panther had to sacrifice their ancestors to protect all of Wakanda. And that is the sacrifice you had to make to claim the Soul Stone. So this Absolute Thanos instantly slaughters his adopted father, Ghost Rider, and tries to claim the Soul Stone but fails again. And that's when Black Panther Panther says to Thanos, the reason why you can't claim it is because you have no one you truly love. Unlike the MCU Thanos, who at least had Gamora, this version of Thanos had no one because he became too obsessed with the Infinity Stone, so Thanos ends up getting defeated by the one thing he didn't have, was someone he cared about. And that is my pitch for Absolute Thanos. This version of Thanos is super strong in all aspects and gets the Infinity Stones with pretty much ease, but he can't achieve his goals because he is truly just heartless. And the reason I went in this direction is because in the Absolute Universe for DC, they seem like even though Darkseid has everything, he will still lose it all to this watered down Justice League. And in contrast, in this version, even though Thanos has everything, he still loses to a hero who was just built off of the love to protect their country. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this pitch. I would love to hear your guys' pitches for Absolute Thanos down in the comment section below. I love seeing all the comments that you guys put in every single Absolute videos. They're all such amazing pitches. And also let me know down in the comments what other Absolute pitches would you want me to see next. I have a couple in mind, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. So I hope to see you guys next time. Later, hater. Peace.
If that's not the way to go.